Good evening. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, and this is the Englebrook Federal Crime Report Midwest Edition. Tonight, we take you across the heartland of the United States, where federal prosecutors are confronting a wide spectrum of serious criminal activity. From child exploitation and violent threats to drug trafficking, large-scale fraud, and international money laundering operations. What emerges is a stark picture, one that reflects both the reach of federal law enforcement and the severity of crimes moving through the U.S. district courts. We begin tonight in Wisconsin. A Milwaukee man will spend more than 2 decades in federal prison following a disturbing child exploitation case that spans across multiple states. According to U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Wisconsin, 56-year-old Daniel L. Anderson has been sentenced to 264 months, that's 22 years, in federal prison. Court records show Anderson paid a co-defendant to produce and send child sexual abuse material involving an 11-year-old child, with activity tied to Milwaukee and Memphis, Tennessee. Prosecutors also confirm Anderson has prior convictions in Wisconsin and Alabama involving sexual assault and exploitation of children, establishing a pattern of predatory behavior. Following his release, Anderson will serve 5 years of supervised release and will be required to register as a sex offender under federal and state law. In a separate Wisconsin case, another alarming developing involving a young defendant already on a sex offender registry, a 20-year-old Metowoc resident, Brandon M. Lemard, has been indicted on multiple federal charges including production of child pornography, obscene visual depictions of child sexual abuse, and committing a felony sex offense while requiring to register as a sex offender. If convicted, Lemon faces decades behind bars, including a mandatory minimum of 25 years for production charges, up to 50 years total exposure, and an additional 10 years consecutive sentence due to the registration status. Authorities allege that the crime occurred in July of 2025. Cases like these underscore the federal system focused on repeat offenders and crimes involving minors, where penalties are amongst the most severe in criminal code. A Minnesota man has been sentenced after threatening the life of a sitting member of Congress. Federal prosecutors say 53-year-old Michael Paul Lewis of Minneapolis left a voicemail in March of 2025 threatening to murder. When law enforcement arrived at his residence, Lewis admitted to making the call. He has now been sentenced for 5 months in federal prison, followed by 1 year of supervised release. Federal officials continue to warn that threats against public officials, even those that are remote, are taken seriously and prosecuted aggressively. In Michigan, a counterfeit document operation targeting illegal immigrants have led to federal sentencing, a broader investigation into identity fraud networks. 35-year-old Noma Ala, a Guatemalan national in the U.S. illegally, has been sentenced to 8 months in custody. Authorities say Ala played a key role in the scheme that manufactured fake Social Security cards, produced fraudulent permanent resident documents, sold them to individuals unlawfully present in the U.S. Investigators tracked the operation through 2024 and 2025, identifying repeat transactions and coordinated amongst co-conspirators. Allah has previously been deported 4 times, and following her sentence, she will be deported again to Guatemala. In Detroit, federal authorities are now targeting a massive international money laundering operation tied to drug cartels. The Department of Justice has moved to seize $14.9 million alleged to the funds that were part of a trade-based money laundering scheme. This method involved depositing drug proceeds into U.S. bank accounts, using shell companies or legitimate businesses, then transferring the value overseas through trade transactions. The cases reportedly involved import-export businesses and even a Latin America music figure whose account and claim deposits were tied to a concert abroad. The investigation is ongoing. In Iowa, a man has been sentenced to more than 18 years in federal prison after investigators uncovered a large cache of child sexual abuse material. 37-year-old Andrew Joseph Bargan has been sentenced to 218 months after uploading illicit material to social media and possessing hundreds of images and videos. Authorities say cybertip led to the investigation, and forensic analysis confirmed extensive activity on his device. Bargan will also serve 15 years of supervised release and must pay $18,000 in restitution. In a separate Iowa case, a convicted felon who threatened civilians with a firearm has been sentenced to more than 7 years in federal prison. Capri Rogers, 37, approached 2 women on a bicycle and threatened them with a loaded weapon before fleeing from the police. During the pursuit, Rogers dropped the firearm near a child, creating a dangerous public safety situation. A judge described his prior conduct as sadistic, citing a history of violence and repeated firearm offense. In Illinois, a suburban Chicago man has been charged with sending threat letters to federal judge. 65-year-old James Lupin allegedly mailed letters intended to perceive as true threats, targeting judges in Texas and Florida. His arraignment is scheduled for March 26. Also in Chicago, a major fraud case involving a misuse of federal food assistance. David Quiznos, 45, has been sentenced to more than 4 years in prison for defrauding SNAP programs of over $1.5 million. Over a 5-year period, Quiznos traded cash from access to benefit cards, purchased goods using those cards, then resold the items for profit. He has been ordered to pay the full amount in restitution. A repeat offender in Indiana has been sentenced to more than 12 years in federal prison for drug trafficking. Jeremiah Hicks, 38, sold heroin and cocaine in 2023 and was later found in possession of a semi-automatic firearm and cash linked to drug activity. Hicks' criminal history includes multiple prior drug convictions. Federal agents in Ohio seized a significant quantity of narcotics in a case that remains active. Authorities recovered 11 kilograms of suspected fentanyl and cocaine, $260,000 in cash, and multiple firearms from safe belonging to Keyshaw Rivers, 46. Rivers is currently being held pending trial. Also in Ohio, 3 previously deported individuals from Guatemala and Honduras have been sentenced for illegally re-entering the United States. Each will be transferred to immigration custody upon release. A Louisville man has been sentenced to 15 years in federal prison in a case involving both drug trafficking and illegal firearms. Subject Baines, 52, was responsible for trafficking 99 firearms, including a 3D printed Glock conversion device capable to fully automatic fire. Investigators also documented multiple methamphetamine sales to confidential sources. One of the largest fraud cases in Missouri history has resulted in a 16-year federal sentence. Connie Bobo, a nonprofit executive, was convicted of stealing $19.7 million from a program designed to feed low-income children. Prosecutors say she used the funds for luxury homes, vehicles, and real estate investments, while children in need were left without meals. 2 men connected to a massive pharmacy burglary ring have been sentenced to a combined of 25 years in federal prison. Anton Hampton and Reginald Jackson were part of an organized responsible for dozens of pharmacy burglaries, theft of over 96,000 controlled substance tablets, and drug distribution valued for more than $12 million. The operation spanned multiple states and involved dozens of defendants. From child exploitation and violent threats to organized drug networks and massive financial fraud, these cases reflect the wide scope of federal criminal enforcement across the Midwest. They also highlight a consistent message from prosecutors. Federal crimes carry serious consequences, often measured not in months, but in decades. I'm Haylee Ficuciello. This has been Englebrook Federal Crime Report Midwest Edition. Stay informed, stay vigilant.